As Christians, when we talk about tradition, we are invited to do far more than think about tradition as something that only lives in white Western Christianity in Europe. We are invited to broaden our understanding. My name is Pastor Tonetta. I am Anthony's co-lead at the Table Church. And I'm taking over his social today to discover and describe with you a few of the things that I have found most interesting this year in 2025. So the first thing is that tradition is far more than this kind of thing written down that we need to dust off, this thing that has been centered in Europe. When we think about the ways that we know as Christians, we often think about Anglicanism with its idea that the lenses to know truth are scripture and reason and tradition, or the Wesleyan add-on of experience. I was not able to reclaim tradition until I heard Dr. Christina Cleveland share about her experience traveling around the world to discover Black Madonna statues. She talked about the ways in which these folk religions all over the world had reclaimed the Virgin as this Black woman. And all of a sudden I recognized this is tradition. And this is the tradition of the church. There are so many ways to think about tradition that are not about something that happened over there for many of us, and that help us, even if we are folks who have histories that are grounded in Europe, help us think beyond that. So 2025 for me has been a year of rethinking about what it means to love tradition, to love the traditions that are grounded in the land and the places that we inhabit, to love the traditions that are connected often to people who are marginalized, because that too is tradition. After all, Jesus always found himself connected to marginalized people and deeply embedded in stories of the land. So when we think about tradition, we have this amazing opportunity to reclaim something that can deeply, deeply enliven our faith. The second most enlivening thing that I have discovered this year about my faith, the Christian faith, revolves around the meaning of the word salvation. I actually, even through all my years of seminary, did not really go back to the depth of the meaning of the word salvation in Hebrew. It wasn't until I discovered Eugene Peterson's work, Reverse Thunder, where he talks about the etymology of the word salvation as being about a broadening and enlargement, gaining a sense of spaciousness. While I was raised in a Christianity that taught me that faithfulness and true religion were about closing down and about building higher walls, a Christianity that taught me a faith that I thought meant that I had to become more compressed, more confined, that I had to become more separate and more pure. It wasn't until I came out as a queer person that I realized and started to have this inkling that no, our faith is also about this mixing, this promiscuity, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word, this mixing and mingling it with the world in kind of a radical hospitality. It wasn't until I came out that I started to wonder about my original definitions of salvation. So when I saw Peterson's definition and started to do more research, I realized, oh, salvation is not a jail cell. Salvation is a jailbreak. And if your faith feels like it's a jail cell, it might be time to break free. Love your heart, for this is the prize. Those are the words spoken by the character Baby Suggs, wholly in Toni Morrison's award-winning book, Beloved. She speaks those words when she's standing before a group of formerly enslaved African American people in a clearing in the woods. Baby Suggs is this unordained Black female preacher, and she tells her people that over there out yonder, these people, the people in front of her, will not be loved. So it is their duty here and now to love their bodies, every part of their bodies. For me, the scene borders on a holy text with its echoes of a hush harbor spirituality that allows these people, these formerly enslaved people, to reconsider Master Jesus into the liberating Christ. The very last thing she says is, love your heart, for this is the prize. And something that I have been taught for years and years has really welled up in me this year, that proverb about guarding your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. I realize that in a lot of the church spaces I'm in, there's a lot of appeal to the head and head knowledge, and in movement spaces for freedom and liberation, I realize there's a lot of appeal to protecting the body and protecting the mind. But I realize I've begun to long more and more to protect my heart, to make sure that it remains soft, to make sure that it becomes a place that is a continual container of enchantment. So as you leave 2025 and go into 2026, I encourage you, as you pursue your faith, to consider what it means to love your heart as the wellspring of life, as the prize.